My name is Blake. I'm the founder and CEO of BRINC. We build drones for public safety customers. I started my engineering career over at McLaren Automotive. I was 14 when I was working there, so I think I was their youngest ever engineering intern, which was pretty fun, especially being a Formula One nerd. Then went over to Tesla Motors, briefly bumped into Elon, so sort of life goal fulfilled for me at the time. And most recently, I worked over at DJI, which is by far the world's largest drone manufacturer. They have about 90% of the global market. And I reported right into their VP of R&D, so got some good insights what they think the future of the drone industry is going to look like. Worked on some kind of cool personal projects in the past, too. I built a functioning nuclear reactor in my garage. It was an inertial electrostatic confinement nuclear fusion reactor. So did deuterium fusion and made detectable amounts of neutron radiation and X-rays and all the sorts of things that you would expect to come out of a device like that, which really freaked my neighbors out, but I had some fun with that one. But I grew up in Vegas. I knew people that were along the Strip during the October 1 shooting, which was the Mandalay Bay event. And that's what initially got me thinking about building technology for first responders. I've always loved aerospace. When I was 10, I couldn't quite build a fighter jet. I could build a drone, though. So that's been an ongoing interest. But October 1 really vectored me in the direction of thinking about how that sort of technology could help first responders save lives in the context of critical incidents. So I thought about this for a while, eventually reached out to Vegas' SWAT team, cold called them. They agreed to have lunch with 18-year-old me, which was great because I wasn't sure that was going to happen. And in the beginning of that interaction, we talked a lot about what occurred during the Mandalay Bay event, but then the conversation broadened to the rest of their jobs. The high-risk warrant searches and barricades and hostage rescue missions that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And I thought if they just had a way to get eyes and ears in dangerous places, that would be a life-saving capability for them regularly. And I thought I could build that. So went back to my mom's house and ultimately engineered the first version of what became this, which is the lemur drone. So the goal of this thing is to take off from an armored vehicle, generally, to fly up to a structure, initially look around the backyard, then find a vulnerable window and shatter it out. So we built the first drone in the world to have a glass breaching capability. When the drone does enter a structure, it has a LiDAR. It generates about 500,000 points per second, and that draws floor plans of the structure that the drone is clearing. So first responders know exactly what they're about to walk into. This drone can push open partially ajar interior doors. It can flip itself over after crashes and take back off, so crashes don't really end our missions. And this was also the first ever drone to have an integrated two-way audio system. So when the aircraft does find someone, the SWAT team can put on a hostage negotiator, use this like a flying cell phone, and try to de-escalate the situation. And really, the whole point of this thing is to add space between police officers and suspects in crisis, which I think can result in better outcomes for everyone involved. And I'm really proud to say today that about 15% of the SWAT teams in the country are actively using this. But thank you. But from the beginning of this company, I had this vision of drones arriving at the scene of emergencies before first responders could. I was familiar, though, with how technically complex it would be to accomplish this goal. Like, to do it, you sort of have to build a city-wide network of drone recharging pods that could integrate with pre-existing 911 call-taking systems and deconflict with manned air traffic and fly very reliably over people. And that felt a little out of scope for like a teenager without much money, which was very much my situation when I started this company. So the interior drone was the right place for us to start. But a lot has changed for BRINC over the course of the last 5 years. Today, we're just about the second largest quadcopter manufacturer in America, and we are the world's largest public safety drone company. And that's allowed us to take on some bigger challenges. So with that, I would love to show you our latest drone.
911, what is your emergency?
I think I'm being robbed. 3 guys at my store and they have a gun.
What is the address?
Jack's Mini Mart, 6316 North 83rd Street.
Responder 1 en route, arrival in 45 seconds.
Edward 9, 3 minutes out.
Edward 11, ETA in 6.
Caller states 2 white males standing outside, possibly armed, 1 white male inside the store.
Edward 9, copy.
And we have our generational perspectives. We have our armed robbery in progress. Pull up the drone feed. Yes, sir.
3 suspects are on foot. Alleyway adjacent to the food mart.
Wait, is that just a lighter? Unit standby. It appears to be a lighter.
Responder 1, affirmative. Object appears to be a lighter and not a weapon.
Edward 9, copy.
Got it on the live feed. We'll make contact and advise.
It's not hard to imagine how this situation could have gone differently. BRINC is building a system to give first responders more information before they arrive at emergencies and lower response times. Specialized drones are pre-positioned in robotic charging stations at strategic locations throughout a community. The system is integrated with 911, computer-aided dispatch, and other software to deploy the aircraft autonomously in seconds. These drones can deliver life-saving payloads faster than ever. With an onboard two-way audio system, responders can even communicate remotely to provide instructions.
All right, we have help headed your way. We've dispatched a drone that's equipped with an AED.
Did you just keep giving me updates on your status?
They can also gather intel or de-escalate a situation. Drones can be deployed in the field to get a fast bird's-eye view of any situation and generate 3D models for documentation or courtroom use. DFR allows first responders to see through smoke and identify hotspots or locate suspects and devise a response that minimizes risk for everyone. The drones also mesh with each other for extended range across entire communities. Agencies around the country have already adopted DFR programs. On average, they clear a quarter of all 911 calls with drones alone. They get eyes on scene in less than 70 seconds and have achieved 50% faster response times agency-wide. Enter the future of public safety today with BRINC DFR, because this is just the beginning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. One fun aside about that video, the scenario that we showed was based on a real mission that Santa Monica faced. So check this out.
Santa Monica police got a call last year about a man with a gun. At first, drone footage appeared to confirm it, but then...
As I'm watching him, I can clearly see, and you'll see he exhaled, there's a little bit of smoke here in a second, that I'm 99% sure that that's some type of lighter.
Given that, police didn't need to approach aggressively.
So, I mean, these programs are already having real impact around the country. I would say the scope of this impact in some cases is obvious, like what you can see on screen right now, speeding up 911 call response times. Drones are fast. They don't have to stop at stoplights or deal with traffic, so they can arrive to 911 calls far faster than more conventional solutions to that problem. One thing I didn't expect as much, though, about 911 response drones is they're also able to clear a whole bunch of calls for service. 911 is flooded with nuisance calls about, for example, an obstruction in a roadway where a civilian already moved that obstruction, or a suspicious person where the person isn't there or isn't suspicious. With these drones, public safety agencies are able to realize that and then redirect their resources towards higher criticality emergencies. And that's speeding up human response times, especially to Tier 1 911 calls, very dramatically. And that's not to mention, the officer safety advantages of having a live drone video feed of every situation they're about to walk into before they even arrive. The ability for these things to reduce the probability of use of force, like we showed off in that video, or even deliver emergency medical payloads, like Narcan, defibrillators, personal flotation devices, all the above. And we've really built this with communities in mind as well. As you can see, we have a no weaponization policy, so we're not going to build weaponized systems in any context. Customizable evidence retention, usage logs, access controls. Our cameras actually point towards the horizon as our drones are flying to 911 calls, so they're not like looking down when they're en route. And the drone is also very easily identifiable as a public safety asset. Most of our customers put their logos and color schemes on them, so they're not sort of like misrecognized as just a neighbor's DJI drone. And we've also built out a public transparency portal. So here, public safety agencies can display high-level program statistics, like the number of calls that they've responded to with drones, average response times, the types of calls that they're most frequently going out to, but they can also show granular flight path data. So if someone ever gives them a call and asks why there was a drone flying over their house, for example, they can be coached through adding a location filter and a time filter, and then through an integration with computer-aided dispatch, they can see the purpose of that flight, like the drone was responding to a structure fire somewhere in a neighborhood. And we've really built everything with security in mind too. Our drones are made in America. They don't use any Chinese parts. And that was really hard to do because all the parts that you would kind of want to use to build a system like this do happen to come from one country that we can't work with because of the nature of our customers. So we've had to build out an American supply chain, and we sort of did that just in time because, fun fact, BRINC has been sanctioned by China twice now, and I'm also personally sanctioned, so I can't enter that country anymore, which is not an outcome that I was expecting from starting this company, but what are you going to do? And we've carefully considered the data security elements of all of this as well. And this is really just the start for us. Responder, the drone I just showed you, it's the world's first purpose-made 911 response drone, but it's not going to be our last, and I'm just wildly excited about the potential of this category to lower response times, help public safety better prioritize serious emergencies, and ultimately save lives. So yeah, that's what we've been working on.
And now, joining Blake on stage, please welcome moderator Zoya Hasan, reporter under 30, Forbes. As a reminder, we invite you to ask questions of our speakers through Slido. You can simply scan this QR code or go to slido.com and enter event code under 30 Summit. Our moderators will do their best to incorporate your questions.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. If you were at the bar crawl last night, very much appreciate you being here. I've had the honor of interviewing Blake here a few times in my career at Forbes, and he always sort of leaves me in awe because I always learn some new lore about him, like the fact that he's been personally sanctioned by China.
I'm really worried about a flight getting diverted or something. Like, that could be a super bad day for me.
I think it could be a pretty bad day
yeah.
for you. There's no shortage of great stories with you, Blake. I know you touched upon a bit about your personal journey, but there's so much more to it. Tell me, when you were just a teenager, getting in the room with Vegas PD, pitching them your drone, how did you actually get them to say yes? What happened next?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did not immediately say yes at all. It took, actually several years to get them to a yes. They agreed to have lunch with me, but I think they were just curious about, who I was. They did not have high expectations for that interaction at all. But we had a really good conversation, and I paid attention to their needs. I walked away with a list of features that I thought that they would need in a drone for it to actually be useful for them operationally. Went back to my parents' house, engineered the first version of that, showed it to them, set up a big demo with the command staff I met from Vegas, the SWAT team, but also the rest of their team. Showed off my stuff, and they hated it. like actively hated it. There was a moment where I was very proudly flying my drone around. There was a moment when one of their operators grabbed a towel, walked up to my hovering drone, slapped it out of the sky in front of this whole crowd, and then told me that this was going to happen within the first 5 minutes of their first SWAT call out. And if the drone didn't have an ability to flip itself over and take back off, it'd be completely operationally useless to them. It's like, man, that is a brutal way to explain that to me. Like, you could have just told me. And it continued. That was like one bit of feedback, but there was a lot more. Then I re-engineered the drone, showed that version off to them, set up another kind of like follow-on demo. They liked that one a lot more. And then basically they invited me to go on a bunch of SWAT call-outs with them, on a ride-along waiver, by the way, which is like a weird way for that to happen. That was supposed to be just like 2 or 3 to test the drone out and like see how it did, but the first 2 or 3 didn't go like phenomenally well. So it turned into like a 6-month period where I went on 20 of these SWAT callouts, and only after experiencing like a lot of operational success, where the drone actually did find someone or actually did enable communication, did they become our first customer.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it was a super hard process to get them to a yes.
Yeah, and now you're working with 50 cities for
Yeah.
911 calls specifically? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So over 700 public safety agencies use our stuff. That is about 15% of the SWAT teams in the country. And there are also some really small SWAT teams that just don't have the budget for technology like what we build. So it's probably 30% of the addressable market would be my guess. But yeah, in terms of like full citywide 911 response drone coverage, about 50 cities are signed up.
Incredible. And just a teenager, obviously you got your Thiel fellowship, but at first nobody wanted to fund this.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody wanted to fund this. Tell me how you landed your first big check.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I failed to fundraise many times, like 3 or 4 times probably. Throughout the entire process of like initially working with the SWAT team, like no one wanted to touch me. I was complaining about this to one of my friends from college, and he's like, hey, I met this guy recently. He's a TikTok influencer manager, and he's getting into startup investing, and if you want to meet him and pitch your stuff, like I can introduce you. It's like, man, if that's my best option, like I'm in a pretty rough fundraising place right now. But it was, so I took the meeting, logged on, a couple minutes go by, he was decently late, and then when he logged on, he was in bed with another shirtless dude. Like, that's the camera view that I was greeted with. So it's like, if my expectations were like low walking into this, and they kind of were, like they just completely fell through the floor with that. But it's like, I'm here and I don't have better options, so like I'm gonna do my pitch. So I start pitching, I get maybe like a minute in, and he holds up his hand, he's like, hey, stop, I don't know if I should invest in this or not, I don't know anything about this space. I'm gonna bring in some friends of mine who are smarter than me, and then they'll tell me if I should give you money or not. It's like, okay. So he turns off his video, a couple minutes go by, then 2 random people like join the Zoom call, and I finish my pitch, maybe like not so enthusiastically at this point, and think I just wasted the last like 45 minutes of my life. Then a couple hours go by, I get a call from an unknown number. I answer the call. Person on the other end says, hey, I'm one of the people that the TikTok influencer manager like invited into your meeting. I'm actually Sam Altman's ex-boyfriend. And Sam Altman, of course, is the founder of OpenAI and ran Y Combinator for a long time. And I was really impressed with what you were telling me about, and I would love to introduce you if you'd like to meet Sam. It's like, yes, I would really like to meet Sam. So we get linked up over email. We set up a Zoom meeting. It's like 30 minutes long, and I'm nervous about this because my pitch is too long at this point. Normally I go for like 45, so I knew I had to like condense it. Log on to the call, like 1 minute goes by, 3 minutes go by, 5 minutes go by. Now I have 25, and like I know I'm going to struggle to like get through all of my stuff in 25 minutes. Also, I'm very nervous. He does join. I go through my stuff. I get through maybe 50% of it, and then he holds up his hand. He's like, hey, Blake, I'm really sorry. I'm actually getting a call from Elon Musk right now. And then he turns around his phone. It's like Elon Musk on like the little visual thing. So I'm going to have to take this. But like this was interesting, and I'll follow up. Like click end call. Then he sent me an email, asked maybe 4 questions about the company. I answered them, and his reply was, OK, I'll take your seed round.
Incredible story.
Yeah.
Always take the call, guys, even if it's with a TikTok man.
Yeah.
Anything
I guess
I've learned from that.
it's the lesson.
I want to know, what were those 4 questions he asked you?
Oh man, I actually don't remember. I'd have to look up the email, but they were relatively high level. The one notable one was maybe like where do you see the company going long term? And I articulated even back then, you know, my vision for drones showing up at like every 911 call in 45 seconds. And I actually think he might have conceptualized that idea before meeting me, and that made his decision to invest a little bit easier.
Yeah, and he also brought on Alexander Wang from Scaly Eye, is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so Sam wrote a $2 million check into my round, and then Alex wrote, I think, like a $150,000 check, and then I got like another $50K from other people, and it ended up being a $2.2 million round.
Amazing.
But Alex had a lot of influence on my trajectory too, because he introduced me to Index Ventures, who ended up leading our Series A, which was a big step up. That was a $25 million raise.
And how much have you raised total now?
157 million.
Incredible. Any piece of advice to people out here about how to raise money? You might not be the best person for it, given you struggled a little bit, but I think they'd still want to know.
You know, one piece of advice, this is very practical advice. You just have to show traction. End of the day, like if you have numbers and like legitimate traction in important areas, it's a lot easier to back your company than if folks are really just taking a bet on a person and a dream. So I would optimize for that pretty aggressively, especially at later stages. I think like that balance shifts a little bit between, you know, seed, A, B, C, et cetera. I'm at a stage now where like we really are very much judged based on our, you know, financial performance. There isn't like a ton of storytelling anymore.
That's very interesting that you say that, because obviously, where your drones being used differently, say in defense, in other kinds of defense as weapons, you could likely make a lot more money, right? And go, I don't know, become, I don't know, the Palantir valuation type thing.
Sure.
So how do you stay grounded in your mission and not get blinded by that?
I mean, I think for me, it all comes back to like the origin of the company, and I mean, us like genuinely wanting to build tools to help first responders save lives. Like it's just a really easy mission to be extremely excited about and passionate about, you know? And you know, building weapons feels a little antithetical to that goal.
Absolutely. And tell us about what we should know right now about the drone race and where the United States stands.
Yeah, I mean, we're far behind. China owns the drone industry. And it's actually even more specific than that. DJI owns the drone industry. Yeah. They have 90% of the entire market. So the drone industry is a monopoly owned by DJI. And other countries are attempting to spool up manufacturing capacity. That has happened to some extent in Ukraine, although they're still very reliant on Chinese parts. It's happened to some extent in Russia for obvious reasons. They're also very reliant on Chinese parts. And you know, the US and Europe also have some up-and-coming companies that are trying to occupy that void. The void being like drone companies within the free world. But our scales are just minuscule. I mean, DJI produces many millions of drones a year. The United States probably produces a couple tens of thousands. So we're off by multiple orders of magnitude. And I think that is, frankly, a threat to democracy. Like, it's something that we're going to have to fix.
If any founders here either are building something in the drone industry or would like to build something in the drone industry, now that they've listened to and potentially inspired by you, are you open to taking their call?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, 100%. Guys, hit him up, okay? And we're almost out of time, but I've seen so many questions come in from the audience.
Ah, cool.
So I would like to take some. I saw one earlier that said, what is your biggest challenge with building BRINC? So What is your biggest challenge with building BRINC?
Everything is so hard. It's like, it's honestly challenging to pick one particular thing. We run a very complex business. Like, we have to be competent at supply chain, manufacturing, local government sales, government relations, fundraising, like you name it, like many, many other disciplines. And if we're incompetent in any of those areas, it's like, company doesn't get to exist anymore. So there's just like a very high floor for execution everywhere. And it's challenging to do so much right all the time. I think it takes a really strong team.
Long term, what's your vision with BRINC? What would you like it to be?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a Thiel fellow, and one of our investors is Peter Thiel. And he talks a lot about this idea of taking a very small market, totally dominating that market, and then moving to larger and larger markets from a position of strength, right? So for us, market one was SWAT teams, a niche within public safety, which in and of itself is a niche within the larger drone category. We built SWAT teams, the best drone that has ever existed for their mission, and now we have a reasonable level of market penetration. That was a signal for us to move out one more category and start building technology for all first responders. We're doing that now with Responder, and we have additional drones coming out that will further serve that market. And after we reach a reasonable level of market penetration there, I expect we'll further expand. And we'll take on new categories and try to hopefully be the DJI of the West. That's the long-term goal.
Amazing. We are unfortunately out of time. I could talk to you all day, but thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great. Yeah.